All right. Well, welcome everyone. This is November. Can't believe it's November. November 2024 meeting of the Kinship of the Herd. And right now I have two women with me. We might have at least one more join us shortly. Shouldn't just say women, two members. So you guys have introduced yourselves before, but let's just do it real quick in case anybody watches and isn't a regular for watching. So Peggy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Peggy Norwood Stella, and I am tuning in from Honeoye Falls, New York, in the Finger Lakes.
Awesome. Thank you. And Jerry Ann.
I am Jerry Ann, and I am tuning in from Monroe, Washington, way over on the West Coast.
Beautiful. We've got like the southeast, the northeast, and the west.
Yeah.
So far, anyway, right? Yeah. So I didn't come in with a major topic this month. I actually didn't last month either. It's just been kind of like there's so much going on and so much crazy energy, and everybody's I don't know, there's just a lot. So I figured let's just come and kind of check in, see how we're doing, see where the conversation leads us. If there isn't anything organic that happens, one thing I did do just like right before we logged in, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't have to find something new to like, um, bring up or a new strategy or anything for everybody. I was like, let me look back through the book, which we haven't done in a while, and like look at what were my topics again in my book? And like 9 of the 17, I was like, oh man, those are like so relevant for right this moment in time. So if we need to like have any prompts from any of those, I can go to that. But let's just start with kind of how are you feeling tonight? What are where are you? Emotionally, mentally, physically. So we'll switch it up this time. Jerry Ann, how are you doing?
Oh, you're going to start with me. I thought you'd start with Peggy. Um, okay. I always really like this group because I feel like it's a safe place to be honest.
Yes.
Um, so sometimes I feel like I come here and I really share things that are moving forward for me or that are really interesting, but have some stuck places. One of those stuck places is my horse's feet have been sore, and I've been in an ongoing you know, process trying to keep her comfortable. She's comfortable on a day-to-day basis. It's just trying to get her back to work in some, postural work, lunging and things like that to help her not, quote, lose all the muscle that we had gained. And I do ride her, so I've been very sad because riding for me is it's one of the only really I would use the word intimate connections that I have with another being, that where I really have a conversation,
Mm,
a deep conversation that I feel really on a soul level and a somatic level. And I miss that. I really, really miss that because that is how that's where I have that relationship in my life right now. And I miss that incredibly. It gives me a lot of joy when she and I, have a conversation and we understand each other, no matter how tiny it is that, and it goes well. It just like for me with people, it's the same thing. And I don't work anymore. I'm not working anymore. So I'm not having the same type of deep relationship with people like I did in my nursing career. So I'm missing that kind of connection. I was used to it on a much deeper level.
mm,
Um, so that's one thing. And it's compounded with my husband having dementia that he doesn't know that he doesn't know.
yeah.
He's in a huge amount of denial and he probably never will. And so it's a ongoing acceptance, working through acceptance on my part of taking care of someone who doesn't take care of himself anymore. and doesn't provide to me the same relationship interaction that he, even though he wasn't great at it before, he doesn't have any real amount of it now. Not really. And that's hard to face. It's a little bit like thinking about, I often think about, well, what's it like when a horse is really shut down? You know, like they're grateful they have their food and they're grateful that you don't mess with them. They really just don't want to be messed with, you know? And it's a little bit the same way with him. And I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying the accepting the organic being as they are. You know, so my place of challenge, or my place of great stretching of my soul on a moral and spiritual and physical level, is this idea of acceptance, tolerance of that which does not seem to feed me or respond to me in a way that is life-giving.
You just summarized like the state of the world right now.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then there's all of that other stuff, but it's like on a micro level, you know?
Yeah.
This is someone who was very good at what he did, and he probably and I'm not talking out of school here or anything. He's probably been on the spectrum his whole life. So his focus and his passions have, when they've been there, have been intense and very detailed and just really focused and really good at what he did. You know, he was he you know, was a police officer for many, many years, a motorcycle. He's done all sorts of jobs throughout law enforcement, but most of his career focus was in emergency medicine and actually saving people or teaching other people to save people. And I met him when he was very heavy into ski patrol. So that's all rescue work. For him, it fed him in a different way. But now that idea of taking care of other people, there's just none of that anymore, you know? So no, not even the awareness, like even of himself. And I can't get my head around it. So when you ask me how I am, that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm trying desperately to find the things, quote, that feed my soul or that make me, you know, connected. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard on a somatic level. Like my body is not feeling that.
I'm glad you named all of that. And
Really? I'm sorry. It was just like,
no,
I hope it's not a downer for anyone, but that's the reality. But I want to do the work, right? I want to live the work. I want to live the work with my horse and with any being that I'm with. That's what I've always done, you know, but I'm struggling to figure out, what is this? It's just such a stretch.
for now, right now, I think that question and sitting with that question, and also knowing that I have a feeling we're going to hear, I mean, although the situations are different for everybody, that you're not entirely alone in that sometimes we're just kind of like, life is just like, ooh, right now, right? And it might be for a while, and I'm not quite sure how to find new normal here.
Yeah.
One of the things that came up just as you were saying that, I'm surprised I hadn't thought about it before, because when we were out in Oklahoma, we were visiting Chris's parents, and his mother has rapidly advancing early onset Alzheimer's, and just, I mean, ooh, very so different than the last time that we were there. But in you dealing with dementia with your husband, I'm curious about, do horses get dementia? I mean, maybe not Alzheimer's, but I don't know. It's just a fascinating question. I just never really thought about asking before. So I'm just putting that out there as a placeholder, like for possible
Yeah.
Ask the
consideration.
question again. I didn't.
Whether horses get dementia type,
Yes. Yes.
they do? You believe they do?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, it's not something we really think about though, do we?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about the physiology of the brain, and I've been fascinated since I did, you know, the Homecoming 1.0 with Lockie. It's sent me onto a whole, you know, reading and interest in what this is. And of course, it's mirrored in my in being concerned for humans too, and
Mm,
then the whole interaction. So, but but the thing that is so crazy making is that it's different. It can be different every day, at least in my what I'm experiencing right now. The connections and what's connecting
mm,
is different at different times, and it makes you wonder how much our own personal focus and attention is part of our mental health. You know, part of our intelligence is where our attention is. I
mm,
don't know, that might be just too weird what I'm saying, but it's because that seems to be what's lacking, is that attention.
mm, mm.
Like, and how do we hold our attention and our and in this part of who we are, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I can for sure say what it sent me on is just that it just gets you going and like how does the brain work? And when it's, you know, when it's not working how we're used to it working, it's just very hard to understand, right? Like why are these pieces working and these aren't? Or like you said, different times of day even it can be very different.
Well, and to me, there's even just another level when I think about the emotions of love or hate or just the emotion, whatever, you know, like I do personally believe there's something more than just my container. There's something more than, whether that's my connection to consciousness on some, you know, quantum level, and that's what feeds the energy or helps the energy in me to be restored or keep alive and healthy. I mean, that's kind of, from a health standpoint, that's a lot of what I connect to stay healthy in my body, is this greater um energy field that's not just contained within me. But when I think of people who are in illness, or, you know, like him, I feel like he's not, he doesn't even connect to that greater, you know,
Mm,
like how much better could his health be, or could someone's health be, if there was this
yeah.
awareness and connection. And then I think of the animals, you know, we've all known animals that have been maybe really, really sick, but for whatever reason, they seem to carry this energy of connection to something that's bigger and brighter than who they are. You know, like that was how my horse Atticus was, you know, just about till the moment we, you know, said goodbye. He was just so big and you couldn't deny it. Like that was connected, his,
Hmm.
and there was a communication with that his whole life that we developed, or that it called us to develop.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Okay, my
And
turn's over.
and Karen, for you who just entered, Jaren was speaking about her husband there, just so you knew the context of who he was. I think you came in after the beginning of that. We're just going around right now and just having each of you just say a little bit about where you are right now, like how you feeling, what's
Yeah, I was gonna, there was a really good thought. Um, I just want to share this, before I even write it down. You were talking about, oh, listening to you talk about the, um, going, connecting to the universe kind of energy, right? And then the people that can't do that, and then how the horses do it. Um, the way I perceive this, and this is my only me, you know, I'm not saying this is anybody's pattern except what I've noticed, is that, you know, Newtonian physics versus quantum physics, right? If we look at the atom is mostly space, right? So if we go to the space that's us, right? It means that the physical bits are really, really important, but there's all that space too. And when we can connect that space, when we can really, in meditation and when we have these brilliant connections with people and with our group here and with the horses, there's something dynamic that's happening that's greater than me individually, right? Because my space is interacting in such a delicious way, right? With the horse, with the group, with whatever that is. And people that are in illness, right? And I know I can say this from my own experience, it's those little bits. It's not the space that engages me. It's those bits that aren't correct, right? And they're not happy for whatever reason. So they're causing me discomfort, right? Or discord or dis-ease, right? And that's all my little brain can focus on. It makes it almost impossible for me to shift from, right, dis-ease, discord, discomfort back to the space. Right. Whereas the horses, I think, have, because of the difference in our brain structure, right? The lack of they don't have the huge frontal lobe that we do. And it's my belief, I haven't talked about this really with very many people at all, or somebody have a conversation with somebody like Dr. Steve Peters or something like that. The horses can shift into that space instead of the bits, and into the pain. So they know how to make that shift work for them in a way that is way more natural than what we do. Because we know there are people that have successfully done that, right? And that are dealing with chronic, horrible health conditions, and they can overcome it. Superman, Christopher Reeves was a great example of that, right? Being able to shift that mindset. So anyway, I didn't want to drop that note, because I think what you started on, Jerry Ann, was just really significant and important to me and how I perceive a lot of things. So anyway, for my 2 cents on that, I hope that's helpful to somebody other than me.
It's very interesting to think about, for sure. Yeah, I'm struggling to see the connection with like dementia type illnesses versus physical ones, but it could still be that even when because if there is with dementia, like a small the world gets smaller, right? It is just whatever's on the mind at the moment that is where the focus is, and the broader context of everything, and also a lot of memories and things are not there. But yeah, right. Interesting. Well, so do you want to go ahead, and while we're on you, Karen, do you want to tell us how you're doing, or would you like Peggy to go first?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk. My days are up and down. That's how they are. And, there are days where, like yesterday, where I kind of was able to get out in front of things and get some stuff done and catch up and make some things happen and get a little more organized, and that was in part coming across important, or I watched Heather Cox Richardson's talk with Jon Stewart, and that was really powerful for me and really, really helpful, because I'm a fan of both. And so, I had some background, and so to have them come together. And today was the total opposite. Just could not get things lined up. everything felt like, like I went down to Costco and like 2/3 of the things on my list weren't even in stock. And I'm like, that, just like nothing was lining up. Went to meet somebody at a restaurant at 11 o'clock. The restaurant opens at 11:30, just like, it's like all this, like, what the heck, And so that's kind of how my whole day has gone.
Mm.
Um, I dragged myself to the gym and sat there out in front of the gym literally for 20 minutes and just sat there. And then I went in, did a short workout. And so I'm feeling a little more organized because I got some exercise, but boy, not much. And what I did see today was Martha Beck. I'm a huge Martha Beck fan, and she was on what she calls her gathering room on Facebook. And I just happened to catch her, and it kind of, she came on, and just to see, I don't know, the trauma that I felt was resonating with her, and you could see it on her face as well. And talking about how important community is at this point, and much more so now than ever. And she talks about having the wherewithal a few months ago to listen to her gut saying, you need to do these live talks on Facebook and on Instagram, and you're the gathering room, you need to do this. And she's like, I don't need one more thing to do, like all of us, right?
Yeah.
And yet she understood where that voice was, that message was coming from, and knew that she needed to action it. And so she said, now I have a community.
Mm.
For, she goes, it's my community, but yes, and I'm so grateful you all are here, because we all make it community by showing up, and how healing that can be. So, for me, the Facebook groups that have been popping up, and I've joined, a dozen new Facebook groups in the past week, and and some of those will filter out, but so definitely been up and down and up and down. My mother, who I'm really connected to, she is an avid Trump supporter. Complete in the cult mentality of it. I see her change when the conversation turns to Trump. And so I see that behavioral pattern, which of course brings out the worst of me, oftentimes, unless I'm really, really, really present, and she's also starting to have some forgetfulness, that is uncommon for her. But at 95, she deserves to be. On the other hand, she's starting to recognize it a little bit, and it's a little scary, and it's a little, how involved do I get? We always have this dynamic. She knows she can lean on me, but she wants to do it on her own, like all of us independent women want to do. But anyway, it's so my week is, I feel a little like the ping pong ball, bouncing around everywhere. And that's it's not easy. And the past 6 months has been incredibly stressful. I've lost 2 very dear friends who were clients, who were also just lovely, lovely humans. And they knew each other, and we had done work on horses to get together, and they both died on me. So I'm dealt with that. My mom had COVID earlier this year. I had COVID for the first time this year, so all these things, and then the hurricanes, yeah. and without power for a week, and then without internet for 2.5, you know, and it's just like, okay, you know, it's been a year. You know? And then
Thank
this
you.
happens, you know, it's like, well, shit, you know, I know there's big stuff for me to learn here, is what I feel like. There's big stuff for me to learn.
Yeah,
And
I think for all of us. But yeah, and I mean, today's Monday. I feel like it's Friday. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Like it's just weird, right?
yeah,
There's
Yeah.
like it's a steady sort of like, woo. Well, thank you for sharing all of that, and it is a lot.
yeah, it
And
has been a lot.
we'll come back to it. I want to bookmark and come back to the community and tell a little bit about a women's group that I got to be part of last night in person, which was really nice and helpful. But yeah, but Peggy, I want to hear
Yeah.
from you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I think, well, I think, you know, Kim is sort of aware that, and over the course of the week, actually pre election day, I woke up with vertigo in the middle of the night and promptly fell into the bedpost and got a concussion.
Oh,
So, I mean, I've had this and like really looking at it objectively, I really believe I was responding to energy
That was
shifts
happening.
in the universe. I mean, I just think that this is like I am manifesting physically what feels like is an energetic whirlwind going on in this world, and so I've found it really, really interesting, and especially kind of touching upon what everybody's been talking about. Like for me, with the concussion, what I've noticed is though I'm not the same in
Mm,
my thought process. And it's just it's such an interesting place to be, that I'm not able to follow follow a train of thought easily. I have to really, really concentrate on it, and or it just leaves me in the middle. You know,
mm,
it's just the whole focus isn't there. And then I was so interested in hearing what Karen was saying about the fact that we relate to the bits and pieces, like as humans, that seems to be the what we tend to do. And I was thinking about that. It's like, yeah, it's like you relate best to the way things have always been,
mm,
um, to the history and your expectations and what just feels right and normal for us. And I think we've all just been kind of thrown into this huge lesson on things don't always go like it's that things don't always make sense. Things
mm.
don't always go as we expect. I mean, and it's so human. Like, I think all of our responses are so incredibly human and precious. Um, that this and to be able to say, gosh, this isn't easy. I mean, Jerry Ann, what you're going through isn't easy. I mean, to watch someone that you've always, or to be with someone that you've always related to in one way, and it shifts and changes, and it feels
and it's
so
sneaky too.
strange, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I just feel like I'm really relating to when I'm hearing what everybody's saying and going, yeah, because I've just, I've just spent, like, we've just spent a week in moving between, I can't believe it, I'm so angry, I'm so sad, I'm okay. of course this happened. Of course, I mean, should have expected. I mean, it's just this has been a to me, just lesson after lesson after lesson. For me to just try to come to grips and find a way to operate and function day to day and be okay knowing there's a hell of a lot I have absolutely zilch control over. But to have such gratitude for the friends and people in my life, and I just can't help it. I'm like just so grateful. It's just like oh, I felt like I really had to be here tonight. And my husband invited people over. They're downstairs yucking it up. And and I was like, and I said, I have a group that I'm like, I'm going. And he goes, oh, you don't have to. I'm like, no, this is really, and I'm just saying, this is really important to me.
Yeah.
And knowing that there are people in this group that are here to support, right? Yeah. It's just such a wonder. I can't say thank you enough to all of you. Because this is just such a strange world we're living. Such a strange world we're living in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It feels pretty, yeah. It feels foreign in a way. Like just this isn't what this isn't not at all what we expected. And therefore, okay, so now what?
Yeah. And to be able to come together and say we all kind of can get that and relate and feel safe. Karen, I know you had your hand up. So was there something you wanted to say while the thought is fresh?
Yeah, I don't want to overstep bounds here, but brain health has been a real thing of mine for a long time. So I work with not a lot, but I have worked with dementia patients and Alzheimer's, and I look into this, and concussion has been a big one. I've worked with plenty of concussed people and my own concussions, and gotta love these horses, right? So diet is really important, right? And Mark Hyman has a bunch of information about that, a diet for people with wanting to improve brain health. Fish oil is critical, Peggy, if you haven't started like massively updosing your fish oil, like 4 times as much. And some people do 10 times as much in acute situations. So, but that's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying that there are those cases. And the other piece that goes along with that, sometimes people get vertigo because their gallbladder is plugged up. And so if you take the fish oil and find out that you're getting vertigo, I know another supplement that can help with that, and it can be like bitters, just like bitters. Eat arugula and eat dandelion greens and eat artichoke hearts and things that.
No problem with that.
Okay. So eat a lot of bitter foods, and that helps the gallbladder drain. That can be a cause of vertigo. So watch that. And there's this other supplement, and it's really expensive, but I'm just gonna share. If you go to the Wizard Sciences website, there's a guy named Ian Mitchell who's just this amazing polymath. He's got 2 products in the C60, a base C60 base. They're both good for the brain. One of them, the extra expensive one, is been shown to reverse Alzheimer's in patients.
Wow.
So And I've heard him talk about it helping dementia patients as well. So I'm just sharing information. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying, go look at it, make your own decisions. But there are things that are happening that aren't of mainstream information yet. So,
Interesting.
I just wanted to share that little bit. So
Thank you. Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
you're welcome.
appreciate that. Yeah, the I guess what I wanted to share about last night was it's I knew two of the women. One is someone who I've co-presented, has done grief workshops with me here before. She's an end-of-life doula and also a parent coach. So she's a local therapist who I've been in professional and friendship with for a while. And then one of the other women was someone who attended one of the grief workshops, but they all live in a neighborhood near KOTH here, and which is a wealthier neighborhood and tends to be a very conservative neighborhood. And so there's just this little handful of women who know they're all kind of the same, more, definitely more liberal persuasion. And they were kind of like, we're just really feeling the need to get together, do a little meditating, reflection, maybe a sound bath, and they invited me, and I took one friend with me. Actually Shannon from this group went with me. And it was really beautiful. It was a very mixed group, and everybody had a lot of really personal reasons for why they were actually feeling quite unsafe. Two had gay children. One had a son who's very hardcore Trump, and one is a Hispanic woman who also has gay children. So it was quite an interesting group, and kind of went around and just everybody just sort of a safe space to just say what the fears were, right? And what's scary. And part of it for each of them wasn't just their own fears, but like people in their lives being very, very afraid for what might happen. From deportation to rights being taken away to and so part of it was personal fear, part of it was fear for the people in their lives. One's son was like saying, we need to leave the country right now. Like, we're just a lot of chaos in their families, as well as just how they were feeling and processing. So just everybody having a chance to kind of say what our feelings and fears were. And then also what I did love was kind of this, like, what can we, what do we do? Like, everyone's kind of wanting to do something, and there's this, like, we talked a lot about this, like, initial feeling of like, we got to fight. You hear this a lot. Like, don't give up the fight, da, 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 da. And all of us were kind of feeling like this fight is what is feeding the
Yes.
other side, right? I mean, that just puts it into this, or it takes that energy and goes with it. So we were all kind of, feeling that way. And everyone was also feeling a lot like maybe we just need to pause, right? Just wait and just see what's going to happen here for a little bit before we decide what's needed, what's the best thing to do. The other thought was everybody was feeling very much like, finding ways to protect the people who, if they do end up needing to be protected, like, vulnerable populations, if that plays out, how do we step forward and protect? And that includes women too. I think women, need to perhaps stick together, as much as we can. So there was some of that reflecting, and, I don't know. Like, I think what Peggy said, this right now is, oh, I know. There was also a lot of talk about how to reach across the aisle if you do, and like wanting to have these conversations, and also a very big acknowledgement that the vote turned out the way it did because there's a lot of people in this country who aren't feeling heard, right? Who are needing change, who are struggling in their lives, in their, whatever the ways are, and they are saying something needs to change drastically. And so that acknowledgement that it's all based in, pain and discomfort and want for change. And so that's maybe a common ground. but nobody really, this barrier of being able to have conversations where both sides feel safe, that like there's a really dangerous and scary divide right now where we really don't feel like we can see each other eye to eye, and that's really kind of scary. But it is important, I think, to have these safe communities where you don't want to feel like, oh, I'm being exclusive to just people who feel the way I feel. But if they're productive conversations where we're like, how do we feel safe to say what we're feeling and express it all, but then also look at, okay, um, maybe we just need to wait and see what happens. Maybe we might be wrong about some things. Maybe we won't be.
Mhm.
I don't know, you know. Um, anyway, I don't know where I'm going with all that, but
Yeah,
community.
I think feeling safe is, I mean, I'm hearing things about women going to grocery stores and men coming up behind them and saying things, or
Mhm.
cutting in front of them in line at the gas station, and um, expecting the women to back off,
Mm.
and and being disrespectful when they don't. Um,
Oh, and
you
a couple of the women in that group yesterday had friends, African Black friends, who have gotten those crazy texts and emails about you get a job at a plantation or picking cotton.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew people who'd gotten these texts. So there's some really, and again, I don't even know if that's America based or where that's coming
Yeah.
from. Like that's the thing, is we don't know what all forces are at play here, but it is creating a very large amount of fear and discomfort and stress.
right.
You know,
So
can I?
again,
Oh.
yeah, going where you feel safe, is what I was gonna say. So
Well, what I was gonna say, I guess I'm throwing this out, is that well, I'm always thinking back to the horses, right? I don't know, that's kind of my model these days.
Yay.
Um, so yeah. So for me, a big growth cycle the last maybe year or 2 years has been this internal safety.
Mm,
How do I create my internal safety? And that no matter what externally is happening, I've got this internal safe space. And today, I mean, for an example, today, I'm gonna have some fences replaced, and the contractors brought and delivered stuff. So of course, when I took Cambria out to her stall, she had like 3 different areas where new things were on the ground. And you know how they are when there's new things on the ground. And part of me was like, you're prepared, you have internal safe space, you can lead this, you can guide this, you can go through this with her. So as soon as she started to react externally to it,
mm,
then I was like, okay, we're together, we're fine. I was aware of what she does when she's afraid. She tends to push her left shoulder into me, which is dangerous, right? So I was prepared. I know how you act when you're scared. Anyhow, so we got through it. We made it from the barn to the front pasture past 3 things, you know? And she was the same way coming back in tonight because she saw from a different perspective one of the same things she saw this morning.
and
mhm.
light was different in
And
the
she
right.
spent all day. So I don't know. I guess my point is is that this development of our safety for our inside safety, it to me it's also what's giving me the strength to have tolerance
Mhm.
to what externally frightens me or scares me. Like even there's times where I just feel, like frightened or upset that this man I live with isn't able to protect me anymore, or do this or that, or I can't yell for him or whatever, right? So that sense of safety is in here. And I think we women, we haven't always been encouraged to create our internal safety. I mean, I'm 65. Why is it taking me this many years for somebody to tell me about about
Cultivate
using my power. And maybe, I mean, I think we as women out here in this political environment, that is the only thing that keeps us intact around people, individuals who have a differing opinion that may really harm us. We got to know where our internal place is, and that's hard work to create it, you know? It doesn't just come overnight. It takes practice. Because I
Yeah.
lose mine every now and then, I'm not always having it. I'm having some bad times where I lose it too.
And it's interesting that the horses usually show it on the outside when they're not feeling it on the inside, right?
Mhm.
We tend to try to cover it up. We might be
Mhm.
the inside and we're not really showing it on the outside, but it does give me more patience for the horses, right? To realize, like, how often do I feel like I'm not a safe space in myself, and I'm responding to the things outside of me, which is what the horses, we can lose patience with them for doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just wonder in these things where all these things are happening to women around us too, is that how do we encourage other women to engage with their personal safety power?
Mm.
You
Like,
lead by example.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think women have, and I think also calling on our ancient, honestly, our ancient wisdom, our ancestors. I mean,
mhm.
I think about Anne Frank. I think about so many women, slave women, and Underground Railroad. Like, there's so much history of, I mean, women and men, but definitely of women having to find inner safety and also safety among trusted other women, right? Keeping that strength. Yeah. I have a sense, I mean, I don't know, like I'm really I've had a strong sense that things are going to get way, way, way more chaotic, way, way more frightening and less secure. But I also am holding space that maybe that isn't what's going to happen. Like,
Yeah,
I have, go
I'm,
ahead.
I'm, I saw this great quote. I think it's some Turkish proverb or something. It's like when the clown um when the clown goes into the castle, he doesn't become king. The castle becomes the circus.
Mm.
And you know, and if the circus is crazy enough, it's going to implode,
It will.
right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that's what I'm hoping for. It implodes and then we get to rebuild again. So, which won't be easy. I'm not going to say any of that is easy or simple or, but that's, I don't know, that resonates with my gut. So, but so did her winning. So, you know.
I honestly think that was my brain more, like the more I thought about it, I just couldn't make the math, because in my mind I was like, there's no way that more people are going to vote for him this time than last time, right? It just didn't.
Yeah.
I totally missed that mark, right? My brain was not, couldn't do that math, and so I don't know. I think my brain fooled me on that one. Where in 2016, I was sure he was going to win. I absolutely knew he was going to win, but for some reason, as it got closer with this one, I was like, surely not.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it was decisive, and that's what we do know, right? That
Right.
it was decisive. And so
Free and fair election, right?
yeah, that whole thing of Jerry Ann started with, like, oh, things aren't as what I thought they were. So we're all, I think, all of us on this
Mhm.
end of the spectrum are a little disoriented right now. I don't think the others are. I think they what was interesting to me and kind of threw me for a loop was one of my I don't like to say Trump friends, so conservative friends, said when I said I was surprised, she said, well, you shouldn't have been. It just makes me wonder what's where you were getting your news from.
Right.
And I was like,
Huh.
Because I always think, oh, we all have our biases about what news is right, but it did make me go, I was like, on this one, your news was right, right? Um,
I'm gonna step out and probably step on toes here or something, but I consider the women I'm talking to right now all really intelligent, articulate women who are educated in their own specialties and lives and such. I in my younger years went through a real phase in an evangelical church,
mhm.
very conservative evangelical church. And what I learned in that process and coming out of it has to do with um, thinking styles, thinking, how do we think and how do we process information and where do we, there's a lack for me. There was, when I looked at my life at that time, there was a lack of critical thinking. I wasn't weighing information and looking at all of it and saying what's right for me. I was responding to being in a group and in a group think kind of situation to either provide security or nurturance or whatever. And I feel like as Americans, all Americans, that we are not allowing our young people to have an education in critical thinking so that they can weigh and weigh thought processes more deeply. People are not making decisions very deeply on the information. They don't dig deep enough to it,
They're
And
getting hit all the time with
yeah,
the
with this surface type
yeah,
information, right? And
yes.
then you respond to that because you can't take the overload. And there's so much information and so much that we see in our world on TV. It's hard to become much of an expert at one thing or one part of the politics that you're part of. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, so I find it overwhelming. I haven't really even had time till I was retired in my life to to really care as much about politics because I
Yeah.
finally had more time to think about it and be processed. Otherwise, when you're working and raising kids and whatever, paying, you just you just can't get through it. You're trying to trust other people too. But that's some of my thoughts on why there may be a part of our population that is responding in the way that they are. I'm not saying that the other party doesn't have people that don't critically think either. I'm just saying I feel like there's more people who must be responding on a surface type level. It just throws me.
Well, and I think
Throws me.
we talked about this last night too, is that when I have talked to, and I have some very well-educated friends who are Trump supporters. I have others who are of less formal education. But what's consistent is fear, and it can be like completely irrational.
Hmm.
Like
Mhm.
there is this definite fear. And I'm here all the time. We get called the Dems. We're the Dems. Democrats. That's just how they refer to us as the Dems.
Mm.
Um, there's a real fear that we are trying to undermine the country, trying to undermine the Constitution, and it's really kind of interesting. There's a lot of um, deep state conspiracy. I don't know. There's just a lot of mistrust, and I think that's what Trump specifically is just very, very good at playing on that. And we know how powerful fear is, right? And once that gets in you and you believe that this is something to be feared, then you just kind of look for that more evidence that that's true, I guess. I don't know. It's quite interesting though, but there's a lot of fear underlining it. And we know how fear is. In fact, I was saying one of the we looked over the chapters in my book, and one of them was like safety is uncertain, but feeling safe is unequivocal, right? Like none of us are ever really safe, I mean, something could hit my house right now and take me out, right? I could walk next door and, you could wake up in the middle of the night and get vertigo and fall down and you're right. I mean,
Right.
safety is never really guaranteed, but what's important is, do we feel safe? Right.
Right.
And so, odd as it may seem, they feel safe with that whatever. Somehow he's
But
got them.
that's external. That's looking for your safety
Yes.
externally. So
Yes.
if you continue to look for your safety externally, you're going to continually be like a wave in the ocean that keeps getting rocked all over the place by whatever, whatever windstorm comes up. But
Yes.
if you feel safe internally, then you're more likely to stand
You
and
can use your discernment.
yeah, I
You can
mean,
use your
because
discernment.
I live in a multi split household of different believing people. And but I can tell you, God, my daughter she could practically not function for a couple days.
Mm.
She was so upset. And she's she's out of the military now. Her husband is military and he is very upset. He's
Yeah.
active military. He's extremely upset by the who
Yeah.
became president. And
Yeah.
I've thought a lot about our military, who they who, they're at the beck and call of this person who's at the head of the country. Our whole military. It's just
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
all those families and all those people who serve us and care for our quote country's safety I worry more about them. They're my first thought of worry are those people. But that's me.
No, I mean, I think that's a very legitimate fear. We have a commander in chief who is very unstable.
What's he gonna do to all those people? Where's he going to send them or that? So yeah, I could get myself all feared out on that, but that's something that's out of my control. And I have to internally find that space that, oh, I'm sorry, Miss Kathy's, right? Kathy's telling, no,
Karen.
Karen, sorry.
Yes.
Karen, I'm sorry, Karen. Karen is saying about the space in between, like how are we finding the space in between? Because that other person is a human just like I am, and there's got to be more mutual space in between than my little DNA thought that's different. There's just got to be.
Yeah. Karen.
So, Heather Cox Richardson, do you read her,
Oh
Julie?
yeah, I totally read her.
I haven't
But
seen this
I
interview.
don't know where this video was that you saw with.
I want to see it too.
Okay, I can find it and post it. And she also did a very good interview with I'll send them to you, Kim, because I've got your information. I will forward them on to you.
Okay.
Yeah, the one with Jon Stewart is on YouTube, and that I saw it on YouTube.
That's not, is that post-election?
Post-election.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay, I didn't realize it was out, okay.
Yeah, just like a 2 days after, so it was very
Okay.
very new still.
Yeah.
And then she did one with Brene Brown pre-election.
Yeah.
Was it no, Kamala Harris did one with Brene Brown.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really good. There was another interview, I forget, Heather Cox Richardson, maybe it was Brene Brown, I don't know. Anyway, but she talked about, Heather Cox Richardson talks about the division that the MAGA people have stoked. And she said, you take 10 people and you just start picking on 2 of them for whatever reason. I mean, maybe it's because, their shoes are untied or, something like seemingly really very trivial. And if you say that in a way that is demeaning, the middle 6, so the upper 2 are against the bottom 2, and then the middle 6 will go with the upper 2. because they don't want to be left, they want to be part of the people that
Aren't
that are
getting,
better.
right.
Yeah, that are better than them. And so it creates this divide, and that um, it's not a new it's not a new pattern.
It's a
Um,
psychological
Trump,
phenomenon.
yeah. So Trump has just mastered how to do that. So he finds the two that we all can, that all these people want to go after, and like eating the dogs, we know that there is that level in this country that happens. Us horse people know that, horses get stolen and sent to slaughter, so we know that that's a part of a subculture. And so they just put that out on the table to create the divide, right? Who's going to support the people who who have the dogs and cats, right? And then who are going to support the people who don't want to be part of that at all? Oh, I'm not in that group, and again, creating divide, and that's how they get the bigger, large groups to come over and support them. Because you think about, there was a very large group of Hispanic men that voted for Trump, but yet he's talking about going in the homes where 1 in 4 people are there illegally and have a very good chance are going to get expelled from the country, but yet they voted for, right? They voted for this man. So again, that is that kind of mentality, that us or them, that was, well, I'm going to be with us. I'm not going to be with them, and they're not going to come knock on my door. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of that.
And that is that search for external safety.
Yes.
Like, oh, I'm going to be safe because I don't want to be one of them. But
Correct.
I will for sure, I may not exactly be one of the upper two, but I sure as heck don't want to be one of the lower two. So
Right.
I'm safe. And so it's that external safety that Jerry Ann was talking,
So what's interesting about that, like, definitely, yes, we need to cultivate inner safety, absolutely. But at the same time, we are at our base social animals, just like horses are herd animals. Like, we are hardwired to want to be in community. Like, we do need to cultivate this inner safety, but we also do need safe community too, right? And so
I
think,
totally agree with that. That's why I showed up today, because I can have my inner thing, but I've got to have a certain amount around me to feel, to function in the world.
and to bring and to like strengthen that inner
Function in
peace.
the world. Yeah.
Strengthen that inner peace to go, okay, yeah, I am sane. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Or right.
Right. You got to know somewhere where you can mirror your inner strength or your inner world and these other people who are also doing it, But I think tolerance is going to be huge, though. I think in order to have conversations, it's going to just be huge. And tolerance is not something that's, I don't know, we talk about it a lot, but I mean, in practice, it is hard to
Well,
not,
and
to
think
just,
about what you might have to tolerate.
yeah.
Black women getting these odd texts,
Yeah.
you're at the grocery store getting insulted,
Well, I'm not, I guess when I say tolerance, I guess I'm thinking more of looking across at somebody who has very different views from me and showing love towards them. I'm thinking of that kind of tolerance. I'm not being really specific when I say that about, I don't want to, I definitely don't want to tolerate things in my community or in action, or I don't want to tolerate a rapist in the White House. I don't want to tolerate that. But I'm saying we have a choice in terms of how we look, how we show up in the moment every day, you know? I mean, I'm gonna have to make choices about how I show up at the grocery store or whatever, you know?
Yeah. And then there's also, I think, you know, say this goes badly, goes more worst case scenario, right? There will at some point be people who, I mean, the point is now we're all in this together, right? The election is over. We have a president, new president. We all are going to be subjected to whatever that leads us to. And so I guess part of the tolerance for me is not forgetting that at this point, we're all in it together. What's done is done. I can sit here and be mad and say, see, look what you did, look what you elected, right? But there will be probably a time when there's more of like, okay, let's all be safe spaces for each other while we figure out what to do next when things really start to go downhill, if they do.
Well,
Or
and in perspective too, sorry, I'm jumping in, but you know, he always talks big.
I know.
You know,
Well,
and
he said.
he talks so big, and I think it was actually, it might have been Dan Rather, a one that I read from his newsletter or something. It might have been Dan Rather or something Heather Cox Richardson had written from yesterday, but there is, if he I don't know, I don't know that he can just go
He's
off.
not going to do everything that he said. He's not going to
No, I just
accomplish
don't,
day
I
one.
don't think he possibly can. And that's maybe my saving grace, is to believe there's just no way he possibly can do all the things. I mean, where are the freaking police officers who are going to drag all these people out of their homes and deport them? There is no, our cities can't even hire enough police officers in major cities. Are you kidding me? Where are you going to get these people? They're not going to show up with, that want to put guns on them and pull people out of their homes. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to sacrifice their life anymore to protect anybody. You think they want to go confront that?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see like how things like that play out, because you know all you have to do is look at you know, Nazi Germany and realize that people did some really crazy things that you wouldn't think people would ever do. So I don't know. Like this, I think this is kind of a big grand experiment to see how far this is going to go here in America, but potentially. But I am hopeful that maybe he's more talk than some things. But I also think, you know, look at what happened, you know, when he didn't want to give up power. So, you know, he's capable of doing some pretty great things. I don't know. We're all gonna. This is the kind of like all we can do right now is sit and see what happens next, and then I think we're gonna have to keep this community going and saying, okay, whoa, this is where we are now. What do we do? The group I was in last night kind of ended with each person saying what is something, and it could be internal thing or external thing. Like, what are you gonna focus on or do right now? For yourself or for others, whichever one is needed. And just kind of stay in that, like, what's in my control right now? What's something I know I need to do? And for me, it was, I think I want to just pause and just watch for a little bit here, as well as being in community, right? Keeping community very alive for me, because I know I need that right now too. So I don't spiraling a little. But anyone want to go next? What's something you feeling like you need to do or can do right now that feels either grounding or supportive or productive? Hard question to answer.
Well, something that I did the other day, I find it really difficult to, I found it difficult for a long time to feel like my belief system, which is basically Christian, but with a lot of other religious backgrounds, influencing, and many, many things influence what I believe now. But I wanted to find community because it bothers me, that it feels like my heritage or whatever has just been besmirched with with this ultra conservative behavior,
Yep.
thoughts. Okay. So I have a desperate need for community on a more in reachable basis. So I've asked myself, prayed, or put out to the universe the last couple of weeks, like, what can I do? I can only get away from home for a couple hours that my husband seems okay on his own. I would like to find a group that's closer. I'd like to sing again. What could I do? Well, I started researching and I found this quite open, small congregational church that's not very far from me. So I went,
Lovely.
and it was a really interesting experience because they could have all been sitting here talking with us tonight. They were just really grounded people who were deeply grieving what had happened.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that their acts of service and how they feel in their heart about their beliefs have to do and are deeply connected to being in community with their neighbor, serving the needy, doing actions of goodness, those kind of values. Okay. So I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good to know these people are here,
Yes.
and that I don't that doesn't all have to be taken away in terms of my you could what do you want to call that? That's just my cultural upbringing, right? And I was feeling sad. It's Christmas. I'm feeling sad for my cultural upbringing to have certain ideas taken away from it, or be just, So anyways, I don't know how to quite explain that, but but I think the rocks are alive too. So I have lots of beliefs. But I met some really interesting people and I thought, isn't that cool? There are people out there.
Nearby you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. So that's a beautiful thing coming out of all this, right? That you
Yeah,
connecting
yeah,
with.
like I've got to find some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You do. You do. So
yeah.
I'm proud of you for doing that. I'm excited there's also that's crazy, isn't it? Sometimes when we get clear about what it is we're looking for or need, and then it's like, oh, it's actually
Right.
here.
And this is a community that's open, it invites and proclaims openness for LGBT and transgender and all of those, they fly rainbow flags on the outside of their church and stuff. And I'm like, yes, okay, this is an open group of people who have discourse and talk. It was very interesting. I really enjoyed them.
Yay. So you're gonna stay connected with them.
I think I will. And by goodness, I can go in there and sing the hymns I sang as a child and
Yeah.
not feel torn. Like all things can be there.
Yeah.
It's like we can have it in all of this space. It's okay.
It is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the mother was prayed to, not just the father.
Mm,
I mean, that was cool. Yeah.
very cool. I love that, Jerry, and thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Peggy, what about you? Any thoughts about what you can
Uh,
do?
it's like Jerry Ann was sharing, and it's just interesting because I thought, well, gosh, it was such a small little thing that I did. But along those same lines, it's like, because I am like a Christian by my upbringing, right? It's like I feel like it is a part of definitely who I am. And I put a cross back on, and I started wearing a cross with another necklace. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to wear this cross. I think it's pretty, and I'm going to wear it, and I'm going to just reclaim this. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
in a way, it's kind of like even how I feel the American flag has become. Like
Well,
I would
you claim that
reclaim
too,
the
right?
US flag. right? And so I'm going to claim the American flag because I don't necessarily like I see the symbols of things that are very much a part of who I am, feel like they're being almost taken away and reclaimed by someone else to represent something else. And so the small gesture for me was putting a cross on and wearing it and saying, yes, this is who I am. And it's not reflecting what somebody might see it and think about it, but instead it's for me and to remind me like, yes, I can claim the faith that I grew up in. Even though there's aspects or parts of it that I see that I don't want to claim, that I don't feel is part of what I believe, but I believe. And so that I think then like Jerry Ann, like finding a congregational church and finding that place of like, yeah, I mean, it really is soothing to sing the hymns that you grew up with that meant something.
Had a certain meaning to you,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and the
Yeah.
meaning has evolved, right? Because I am not the child, or I'm not the, my thinking and my evolution of thought and faith has moved far beyond. And maybe it's like, I don't think as a child. I'm thinking, as a much more mature woman who's had life and experiences, and these words mean so much differently now than they did then. And I think that's an interesting, yeah, I mean,
Hmm. That you'll even grow in your faith out of this, perhaps, right? Your holistic, your faith, your
right. But I'm bringing back into it a very different, a different piece of the universe and the different experience, yes and no, right? I mean, what sometimes was what
Like,
we
like going back and reading a really one of your favorite books again,
Yes.
years later.
and you see new things in it. You see it reads different, lands differently now.
it reads differently.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah.
There was
That,
one
I
common
just
thread.
wanted to say thank you for talking about, your cross and how you were reclaiming. I feel that's really resonates with me. Thank you.
And as you were saying that, I was even thinking that has to do with our self sense of safety too, right? To say I'm claiming back the cross for what it means for me,
Yes.
right? And not what externals are saying, it trying to make it be, right? Again, I think that has something also to do with that. Like I can be a safe place with my own faith and my own symbols and that sort of thing. But yeah, I've thought a lot. My grandfather was a Presbyterian minister, and I mean, one of the most loving, humble, forgiving, intelligent, just thoughtful, right, and empathetic human beings I've ever known. To me, if there's anybody who I believe like truly walked with Christ, right, it was him. And I thought a lot. I'm like, oh my gosh, he would be just so mortified about what is happening to his faith right now. So, and I know there's a lot of Christians who feel that way, even though there are a lot who are also, I don't know what, but anyway, yeah, beautiful, beautiful sharings, both of you. Thank you. Erin, what about you? What are you feeling like you need or want to do right now?
I'm sorry, you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ask me the question again. I was.
What are you feeling like you need or want to do like right now that your soul is
Yeah, I do want to get involved in, there's a couple of groups that are interested in getting together. I've been looking up different politicians and going, how do I, you know, how do I get connected with them? Do I show up in my Republican representative, federal representative with do I just show up, go have lunch with them and say, hey, I'm a constituent, but show up with like 5 other people, and say, we are your constituents. How, how are you here to support us? What can we do to support you, and create this? So there's that possibility. And do I really want to go down that path? And, do I have time to do it? And do I have the energy to do it? And, so I don't know what's happening. If I have more days like today where, I've got my, right shoe on my left foot, or, what it feels like, then I am not doing the right thing at the right time. So
But for right now, I love that you're even asking yourself the question of, is this something I want to do?
yeah,
And there is definitely, I don't know what, there's from a political standpoint and just from a governance standpoint, it's like, well, yeah, we the people are supposed to hold our representatives like accountable. They are our representatives. We should be in communication and dialogue with them.
yeah,
But if you come out of that and go, oh, he wasn't interested in dialogue with me, or I feel like I just got like, oh yeah, right, I'm gonna say whatever I need to say. So, you could learn a lot from it, but you kind of might have to go in with a like being ready for whatever occurs.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, go in with food and say, okay, we're here to break bread. We're not going to just be shuttled out the door, so, and we're not going to do it just once. We're going to do it on a regular basis, because that's what makes change, right?
Relationship is what makes change.
Yeah, I remember when there was some political thing that came up, and one of the women that I had met on Facebook, she was calling Rubio's office so often. She said, I'm really expecting them to call me back and invite me to happy hour on Friday night, only because she was calling like every day and knew everybody in the office. But that's how you get heard by them, is to do that. And I just think that there's a little bit of a window right now to do it locally in a way that has not happened before. And only because the apple cart is so upset that there is an opportunity for a dynamic. So you be the squeaky wheel, and just keep showing up, and that's what we're supposed to do, is get involved, right? So
that's a very interesting point, and a very there is a sense of accountability there of like, we can complain about it all we want, but we do have to show up. And not, it's easy to be ignored if you're not showing up, right?
And am I going to be safe to do that?
Are you going to be safe to do that? Right. But that's where not going alone, at least initially, is a really good idea.
Right.
To, make sure you feel safe.
Right.
Doing it. Because yeah, none of us are going to be having a productive conversation if we don't feel safe.
Right. Is anyone else hearing a lot of background static? Or
yes, I'm
hearing a ton. It's starting to make me crazy. I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from.
I'm not sure where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean,
it could be the cat, right?
Well, I don't know. Is the cat rubbing on
the phone or whatever your Peggy is
Peggy?
The cat?
No, it's my cat. My cat was rubbing on me.
But not the phone.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
No, it's still there.
No, it stopped now.
No, it's kind of still there. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but anyway, we're almost that close.
Sorry, I'm just like, I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah,
okay.
It has been a little bit hard to hear today. I'm not really sure what that's about. But I'm just really grateful for all 3 of you for showing up and valuing the community and bringing your thoughts and sharing. I got a lot out of what each of you said and lots to kind of think about and sit with. I'm
Yeah.
very
Kim,
grateful.
can I just ask, are you, I mean, you take such good care of us in this. Are you okay, though? You are okay?
I think I'm with you guys. I'm like this. Today I'm a little bit better. Last couple days I was not in a very good place. So yeah, kind of taking it day by day, but yeah, I can't say I'm great.
No, okay. Well, no, but yeah, I just,
I appreciate that.
you
asking.
matter, Kim, you
Oh,
matter.
I appreciate that, but I always feel better whenever I'm connected with all of you. I mean, it does help me immensely too. So just
Yeah.
know that, yeah, helps me a lot.
Remember the space, right? This
Remember the
space,
space.
right? And this energy, that this is available for us, and more of this, please. And so
Yes,
I,
please.
we take this to another place, and more of this, please, more of this, please. And
Yes, we have this one and we'll build other ones and we'll, right. And yeah,
right.
yeah. So thank you all. Mhm.
Okay, and I will send I already sent one of the links to you, Kim.
Okay.
The one with John Stewart and Heather, and I'll try to find that other Heather interview that
Okay.
I enjoyed, and send that along to you. So, okay.
All right, perfect. And I might, when I post this recording, I might, when I post the recording, I might post those too, just to say if anybody listens to this, these are the things we referenced and they can watch it or not, right? Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Beautiful.
Be
Thank you,
well.
everybody. Bye. Bye,
Good night,
Karen. Bye, Peggy.
everyone.
Bye, Kim.
Bye-bye.
Bye.